Hey guys, I'm just waiting a moment to see if anybody happens to jump on. I'm finally going to share a little bit of the story of the last month and what's been going on with me. I'm actually sitting outside, which is a huge, exciting thing for me right now. Anyways, yeah, so it's just about a month ago that I had to evacuate my house because of a mold situation. Hi Peggy, good to see you. So about a month ago, I had to evacuate the house because a mold situation developed and it was so severe that even a healthy person should not be inside the house. We still don't know all the reasons why, but there's some type of massive leak going on and it had been building for a while. So I ended up staying outside overnight at first just to try to cope with breathing, and unfortunately we have had such horrible air quality because of fires in the west and in Colorado that being outside and wearing double masks all night and just trying to sit there is not a sustainable way to live. So God intervened. After that first night, I was able to go stay with some people I didn't know in another town, and they took me in for a few days and then extended it for a few more days, and that was such an answer to prayer for me so that I had a place to be. My dog was able to come as well, and she actually just loved that place so much. So that was a huge provision. And then after that, I went to an Airbnb, which some of you guys made possible by just gathering the funds for it. I was really hoping it was going to be the answer, and I was really, not the long-term answer, but the answer for the next steps. And it turned out that it was a disaster, a major disaster. But even in that, God was working. Could someone let me know, like, if you have trouble hearing me, because the AC just came on outside and it's really loud. So let me know if you can't hear me. Anyway, I went to this Airbnb. These incredible people ran it. It was beautiful, but I had neglected to find out when it had been constructed, and I ended up reacting so bad I couldn't breathe inside. It was just as bad as the mold, only the opposite situation, being chemicals and brand new stuff that I couldn't breathe around. So once again, I found myself sitting outside all night with nowhere to go. And from there, those people who hosted me at the Airbnb were so kind. They didn't have to help, but they decided to help me, and they got involved and drove me up to Denver, which was a good ways. And we got there, and I stayed in another temporary rental that was available for a few days. That rental was much better than Airbnb as far as reactions go, but it was only available for literally like 3 nights. So once again, after that, I had nowhere to go. And then a friend of a college friend invited me to come stay and camp in their backyard or try their house out, and that's actually where I still am at the moment. So a couple weeks ago, I came here to this backyard in Centennial and I started camping, and that had its challenges. After never being outside, suddenly I was outside all the time. But our air quality shifted dramatically within a few days, and after that I couldn't be outside at all. So I've actually been staying inside their house, and they have been so generous. They have 4 young children, and the 2 little girls gave up their bedroom and went to sleep down in the basement so that I could use their bunk bed and stay in their bedroom for a while. So that's what I've been doing. It's definitely tight quarters and lots of chaos and excitement and things like that going on, which I'm kind of used to from being the oldest of 8 kids myself. But it's actually been many years since I've been around children and families, just having been just me alone in the house, trying to stay away from others because of my immune issues and environmental issues. So kind of went from the exact opposite situation into this, which has been a mixed blessing for sure. Like, it's been amazing to be around people again, so amazing, and then also challenging, sharing viruses and coming down with things in tight spaces and all of that. So we know it's not the ideal place to stay, but it's God's provision for me as I'm looking for somewhere to stay. Also, it's an older home from the 1960s, and so I've had some issues with the air quality inside and just having to wear a mask and struggling with things like that. So it's been tough. Sorry, I have an alarm going off here. Remind me to take something. Anyway, so that's where I've been. It's still a suburb of Denver, and at the moment, I do not know where I'm going next. I'm just crying out to the Lord to show me where He wants me to be. I'm really looking at possibly leaving the state. If I do stay in the state, I will be going further south because sometimes the air quality is a little better away from the Denver metro area, but still not fantastic because of the fires that we get in this area. So I will either be staying in this further south or going to another state out west. If God opens a door in a different state that I'm not expecting, I'll definitely consider it. It's best for me to stay away from the humid climates right now, but the smoky air is also really hard, so it's really hard to know which is like the worst issue at the moment. So yeah, that's a like high level view of where I'm going, knocking on a lot of doors and just asking God to open the right one. Something that he's been telling me is that in this next move, it's going to be about community, and it's not just going to be about survival. All my moves so far have been about survival and just trying to stay alive. And in this next move, he's saying you're going to go where I'm going to plant you for community and healing and my purposes. And so I'm really expecting that and believing I won't be in as much isolation as I've been so far. So that's a new thing for me. One little story I was going to tell you guys about the last few weeks or so is I had to let go of my dog. I'm hoping that I can get her back, but that will depend on where God has me live, whether I can have her with me or not. But I had to let go of her, and then kind neighbor has been taking care of her, someone I didn't even know, just offered on next door. She was so scared and just so stressed living outside 24/7 and being in the heat. It was too much heat for her that she actually ran and hid under the neighbor's deck and wouldn't come out for 24 hours. I couldn't get her out. Finally, animal control crawled underneath and managed to coax her out, and then we sent her away to another place. So grateful for the help of kind people. It was a lot trying to deal with that at the same time as everything else. I want to share just a couple things that I'm grateful for and some prayer requests with all of you guys. And right before I go into that, that'll be the last thing that I do. I wanted to just give a little window into, I guess for the people that find it harder to understand, and I find it hard myself, why it's so difficult to find stable housing for me and why environments are so hard to cope with. So one of the issues with the illness that I've been battling is it's an environmental illness where my body doesn't process toxins the way that a healthy person would. And a lot of that is genetic. There's a lot of genetic reasons why my body isn't able to deal with toxins the way a healthy person can. And over time, those toxins build up in your system until it's almost like you have a bucket. And when the bucket gets really full, you get exposed to another toxin and it feels like you go over the top and it causes neurological symptoms. I'm dealing with some of it as I'm talking to you right now, but it makes me unable to communicate clearly. I have a hard trouble breathing. I have trouble processing and thinking clearly. I feel flu-like. I'll get intense pain throughout my whole body, get hot flashes, and just my lungs will become on fire, like so many symptoms that I won't go through the whole list. And it can become so debilitating, and it can last for days just from an exposure to something like a chemical, a pesticide, a certain level of smoke, perfume, things like that. And it's just related to the total load in my body right now. So because of that, that's why it can be so much more difficult to find a healthy place to stay, because when you're sharing a household, people use all kinds of products. There's all kinds of things going on in the house. If you go to an older home, most of them have some type of mold issue, and I'm highly sensitized to mold. If it's a new construction or new carpet or new paint, then all those things are off-gassing toxins all the time. So that's just a little glimpse into why it's really difficult to find a clean, steady, stable place. So thank you guys so much for praying with me for solutions for that. I'm still believing that God wants to heal me completely so that I could be anywhere and not react to those things. For those of you who haven't heard the term before, people like me are often described as canaries in a coal mine. And in the old days, the miners would put a canary in the coal mine. And if the canary died or passed out or fell over, that meant that there was toxic fumes in the air and the coal miners needed to get out as quickly as possible. So people like me are kind of like a warning in our society of the types of toxins that are in our environment that are not good for any of us. But for those of us who can't tolerate them, it's actually life-threatening. And for those of us who can, it's debilitating to our health. So that's a little term that they use for people in our situation. It's been incredible for me. I've met so many people over the last few weeks, even with the homelessness, who are in a similar position, and they're homeless because they not always because they don't have financial resources, but because of their illness. And sometimes it's a combination because the illness takes all your financial resources. So that's just a little view into that. We've been talking, and we have such a dream that someday we'd be able to provide people with safe housing in our situation, because we can't just go to a shelter like a normal person or go to a hotel because the hotel has so many chemicals. So we're praying for options like that to help others in the future and believing for healing. So, on to the follow-up, the last part of the video is I just want to be able to share some of the prayer requests and praise reports and let you guys know where we're heading right now. Hi, Mackenzie. I am so glad that you are back in town. It's so fun to hear that I'm close to you, but I haven't seen you yet. Anyway, big prayer requests are that God would provide a place for me to live, that I could stay for. I wanted Him to provide a place where I can stay permanently, at least until I'm healed, so that I'm able to be stable. But I'm also open to it if He wants to provide me a place that is, 6 to 12 months of healing somewhere, and then He takes me somewhere else, and that's the more stable place. I'm open to whatever He wants to do because He knows best. But it would be amazing if that place would open up very soon. The longer I stay here, the more challenging it is for my host and just keeping the kids out of their room and just all of us being in tight spaces. I haven't had COVID yet, and I've been praying that I'd be able to get a little stronger before I get it, or not get it at all, because I haven't been able to tolerate even a lot of things like vitamin D, zinc, vitamin C, like basic stuff that most people take for their immune systems. My body reacts really strong, and then I can't get enough of that into my system. So it would be so great if I could get stronger first. So getting into a place with a little less exposure would be fantastic. And then wherever that place is, transportation to get there, because I'm not strong enough to fly in a plane yet. So first the place to live, and then the transportation there. It would also be great if I could see my doctor again at some point, and that's in Kansas, because I saw him January of 2020, and there are definitely a lot of things that he could help with if I could get back out there as well as dental work that I've been putting off for probably like 8 years now, and it's getting a little bit to the point where I can't put it off, so we need some provision for that as well, because it's expensive and it's a lot of exposure for the immune system and all of that. Continuing to ask for prayer for healing and for health, so that I could even take supplements I need to take. So say like I want to be able to take vitamin D, I want to be able to take zinc, things like that, that I could take it and my body would not give me such severe symptoms that I would have to stop, that I'd be able to tolerate those things. Even strengthening exercises, some of you guys probably don't know because you can't quite see, but I use a strap that I've got here around my core whenever I'm up, so pretty much unless I'm sleeping at night, I've got the strap around me and I'm putting pressure on my core just to stabilize myself, because my core is so weak that when I try to sit up without it, it's like I feel so shaky and dizzy and sick and in pain I can barely sit or stand. So this kind of helps to stabilize me, but it's also, not something to depend on the rest of your life. So I want to be able to do core strengthening exercises, but even in not being able to do that, it's really tough to see like, oh, if I could just take that or just do that, I would get stronger, but then my body doesn't let me. So that's an area I'm asking for prayer in as well. Protection from COVID and further illnesses until I can get stronger would be amazing. Outdoor air, a big praise report right now is that our air shifted yesterday. The wind must have changed or something, and right now I think the main thing I'm dealing with outside is pollens, which is irritating me, but it's worth the trade-off just to be able to come out of my little room and sit out here for a little bit. Sometimes I'll have a mask on, sometimes I won't, but just to be able to come out here is such a gift, and for the air to continue to improve so I could spend some more time outside and even go, if I have to go in the car or something, that I could tolerate things better, that would be amazing. I also need help to pack up the old place, because that has not yet been packed up. It's been started to be packed up by some amazing people, which I'm so grateful for, but there's a lot to do there, and I can't go back in the house myself. So I feel so dependent because I can't actually go in and do the work. I need someone to do it for me. So that I need some provision and strength for that. And then finally, for funding, I just all the reactions that I've had and all the things going on have required a lot more medical attention. And then I don't know what the rent will be at the next place I end up living. And I'd love to be able to even help out the people that have been hosting me and things like that. And there's just so many different needs. Purifiers, air purifiers that I'm relying on need to have new filters replaced and different things like that. And it's so hard to be like always in the place of need. But I'm also just amazed at all the ways that God has provided for me through so many of you all, just through your prayers and your care and your support, and also just the financial provision that you've given me. So just continuing to ask for prayer for that God would provide the funds that I need for treatment, even if I were to do the dental work, all those things like that. Practically, if you're wanting to support, the best way would be through Venmo or PayPal. And if you want to do GoFundMe, the old link is still up, and we're working on a new one that should be up within the next few days or so. But the old one will still work, even though it says August. And lastly, I just wanted to share some gratitude. There is one lady in particular that has rallied her mom and her aunt to help me with some of the packing, and they're still needing more help. They've been a huge blessing and help. These people that have taken me in, all the people that have taken me in over the last few weeks, I'm so grateful for that. And even just for you guys, like supporting and praying, like I honestly would not still be here right now if it wasn't for you guys. It's just God is using that to strengthen me, to help me to persevere. The level of pain and debilitation that I've experienced over the last 4 weeks has been off the charts at many times. And that's why I wasn't able to update. It's still hard right now, but I have seen so many breakthroughs and ability to persevere because of your prayers and your support. So thank you so much. If I feel like if it seems like I'm repeating myself and kind of talking in circles, it's just part of where my brain is at when I'm trying to process right now, and there's a lot for it to sort through. So one day you guys are going to hear me talk, and I'm going to sound like a totally new person. You probably won't even recognize me. And I can't wait for that day. One little last story that is special, kind of bittersweet, but also encouraging, is when I first, probably like 3 or 4 days after I got here, actually maybe a little more than that, I forget, but on September 1st, we brought a caterpillar into the house, actually a few days before that, but on September 1st, a caterpillar went into its chrysalis, and we had it in the house, and it was a monarch. And I've never gotten to see that up close before, and I kept watching it when it went into its chrysalis. It was just so beautiful, and I thought maybe I'm gonna like fly free when it flies free. Well, yesterday it flew free, and I didn't yet, but the butterfly was just so beautiful. It was the first time I had seen like a brand new one come out of it. I didn't actually see it emerge, but I saw it, freshly out, and it was just so beautiful. And then it flew away, and I'll be sharing some pictures of that later on. But over the last 2 years, God has spoken to me through the image of a butterfly in such a powerful way. Last year I painted a chrysalis, and then I painted a butterfly this year, and he told me that I was coming out, and I was coming out of all of this time of just feeling so isolated and pressed in and almost trapped at times, that trap feeling like I can never get out of this tight place. And yet he told me I was coming out, and I thought it was going to be last year, and last year it didn't happen. This year things got even harder. And then when I get to this place, and there is this butterfly that's coming out, so it was amazing to get to see that happen. I also was struggling a little bit with, why can't I come out too? But I'm taking that as a sign that I'm still going to. This is symbolic of what is coming in the days ahead, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I'll send the pictures later. So lastly, I was thinking about some verses, and in Psalm 30, I love that one. Psalm 30, it says, I will exalt you, Lord, for you rescued me. You refused to let my enemies triumph over me. O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you restored my health. You brought me up from the grave, O Lord. You kept me from falling into the pit of death. Sing to the Lord, all you godly ones. Praise his holy name, for his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may last through the night, but joy comes with the morning. And I'm just continuing to cling to that promise that he has said that when I cry to him for help, he will restore my health. He will bring me up from the grave. He will bring me up from the pit of death. And He is going to bring joy in the morning, that all the weeping is going to fade away and joy will come. And even when I can't see it right now, it's still coming. And I'm still believing that and standing for that and expecting that. And through the darkest moments where I can barely do anything but just try to keep breathing, I know that His truth is still true. I know that He's going to keep His word. I know that He's going to keep His promises, and that I'm going to see that joy, and I'm going to see His goodness in the land of the living, and that there are great things ahead. And I know that from all of you guys, there's probably not one of you watching who's not walking through something very dark and heavy right now, very difficult. Even if you're in a season of joy, you know that our world is in such a time of heaviness. And you feel that. And I just want you to know that joy is coming, and we can stand firm, and we can expect a new day, and we can expect the goodness of the Lord. And I just want to thank each one of you for helping remind me of that when it's hard for me to hold on to it in those really heavy moments. So thank you for doing that for me. And I am just continuing to stand with you guys and believing for a beautiful new day for each one of you. I love you so much, and in the days ahead, I am going to be sharing exciting news about where I'm living, the new people in my life, the new day that He has, and just the restoration that God has in store, because He has promised restoration over us, and we are expecting that. Bless each one of you guys. Hey, Nicole, I'm praying for you so much. I love you. You're going to make it, and you're going to be restored too, in Jesus' name. Love you guys so much. Sending you a hug. Bye.